Hello, thank you for joining us. My name is Kirsten Foss, and I own Refreshed Businesses Coaching. I'm a business coach for the salon and spa industry. And my specialty, as you know, if you've been following me, is business strategy for your spa business. So today I am interviewing a really, really special woman, and she's one of my mavens. I look up to her, and her name is Julie Atkinson, and she owns New Look, New Life. And I met Julie through one of our networking events through eWomen Network. And what I discovered was that Julie is a nurse. And not only is she a nurse, she specializes in working with cosmetic procedures and physicians that work with cosmetic procedures. And so what I was so excited about when I met Julie is that we have this shared love of not only skin and beauty, but really about making women feel better about themselves. So Julie, welcome, and thank you for joining us. And what we're going to be talking today about is about busting your beliefs. And when I heard you speak at eWomen Network about busting your beliefs, that event, I drove home thinking about busting my own beliefs, and it stuck with me for days, that talk.
Wow.
So maybe if you could just maybe give us a little bit more information about, who you are, what you do, and how you came to be in this position as a nurse working with cosmetic procedures.
Thank you, Kirsten. It's so nice to be in this conversation with you today because, we are getting to know each other so much better. And you're right, we do have a lot of things in common, maybe not so much in education, but in the soulful part on how we want women to believe that they matter in this world and that they have a lot to offer. And I'm really excited to be here because I hope that your listeners will take away something from my experience in life, because it always comes from your own experience. And when you start looking and busting some of the limitations, restrictions that get in the way, it's amazing how your life can change and become very successful in so many ways.
Mm-hmm. So give us a little bit, because I probably totally massacred your description of what you do. Can you just quickly tell us about what you do as far as your role in this industry?
Sure. Yeah. So I am a registered nurse, and my interest in nursing went to specializing in plastic surgery. And that started with burn unit patients, cancer reconstruction, trauma, and then it evolution into the cosmetic industry. And from there, I moved into working in medical spas, being a manager for a medical spa, creating policies and procedures, and I loved it. I loved being an employee. That's who I am. Give me a task, give me a job to do, and I will excel 200%. I got known out there. One of my beliefs was that I was way too emotional, because I heard people tell me as a young child, "Oh, here we go again, Julie, you're way too emotional." Or my family members saying, "Yeah, bring on the tears." And I didn't realize that was deeply a natural part of who I was. And so I was always stifling that about me. But when I started to own it in nursing, in my business, that emotions were my strength, wow, did I ever blossom. And with that, the patients and clients in the medical spa loved and requested for me, because there was a sense of trust and sharing and confidence, and really connecting with them emotionally really became something signature about me. And then in 2005, I decided to go out on my own. And you may have a lot of listeners that decide they want to do their own business. They've done so well as an employee, and their thought process are thinking, I can do this myself. And
Yeah.
I was working many, many hours creating somebody else's business, but my clients were telling me, you can do this. So 2005, I shut one door, opened up another door, and had no idea about business. None whatsoever.
As that is probably the most common thing I hear is like, I was a great, I love being an employee, but I was ready to go out on my own. And so I opened up shop, hung my shingle, and then it was like, ugh, what did I just get myself into?
Totally. And so over the course of, what are we at now? 215. I'm celebrating, 2015, 10 years in business. And what a roller coaster, what a hamster wheel, what a whole life of finding out who Julie is.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't like to take a sad note here, but in 2005, I opened my own business. And you might have listeners with some of this scenario. In that same year, I lost my husband, I lost my mother, my brother-in-law, my best girlfriend, and my mother-in-law, all in one year as I opened my business. So what fed me in my business in the beginning was fear. I have to make this work. I have to make this work. So fear placed a big part in running my business. And the first year, 2 years, I had a lot of clients that I'd seen for years and years that honored who I was and came to me. So the door was open and it was revolving. But then there came a time when I needed to find new clients. And wow, it was like, how do you do it when you have no money? The money went down the tubes as well.
Yeah. And it's that, okay, it's crickets in my calendar, my schedule, where is everybody? I need more clients, that desperation, and which then feeds that fear even more. Layer that on top of not having any cash flow to do anything. It's pretty frustrating space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so my business, as I said earlier, was running on fear-based. And every time I tried to move forward, somebody down the street had something better, a better machine, better marketing, more money to put out there to get their sign bigger. And it was scary, absolutely scary, but I was on my own and raising children, and I really needed to have this work. And sleepless nights, trying every course, every single, reading and bringing into my I forgot about who I was through my education as an expert in surgical procedures, in an expert in connecting with my clients on an emotional level, really getting to know why they want to change what their looks are about. And so I forgot about that. It was all about desperation, got to run my business. And do you not see that when you're chatting with your clients, that they've forgotten the soulful part of it because they're running their business on a fear base?
Yeah. And that's usually one of the first steps that I ask them to take. Or even just, I ask questions like, so what, they're in this kind of big mumbo jumbo of tangled stuff, and all based on fear. And it sometimes takes us a lot of time for me to kind of pull out each thread of that, big bundle of yarn, emotional yarn. And, why did you start doing this? Go back and try to remember that. And as soon as they are able to peel off of the superficial stuff that's happening right now, and get back to that time just before they went into school, or just when they finished school, or just before they were ready to open their business. Those are some really pivotal moments of shifting. And I was trying to get them back into that place and remembering, okay, what was it? Like, what was it in here that made you choose this path? And once they are able to remember, it's like the light bulb goes off and they're like, oh, there becomes more clarity in their business almost instantly.
And that's where you and I have had some great conversations about the ahas, for sure. And you mentioned the word that people always say, yeah, you're the why girl, Julie, is I ask my clients, you see, my business is based on two areas. One area is in the beauty industry, in helping women make decisions about surgical procedures, about programs that they may be looking into, lasers,
So that part of that, your business is like a consulting service.
Exactly. That evolved.
Mm-hmm.
I started looking at my business. What are my clients asking for? But what I had my door open for was clients to come in and have expert facial treatments. That's what they were coming for. And during the process of facials, many, many questions about, have you heard about this procedure? What do you know about that? Should I have Botox? I'm thinking about having my upper eyelids done. I knew all the answers to this. I work in the industry, but I wasn't seeing how that could be a part of my business. That's the expert side of who I am in my business. And I was not owning it because it was a day-to-day thing for me. It was something I did with my eyes closed. I knew it so well, and it was almost boring. I wanted excitement in my business, but that is my expert part of who I am. So, and then
I think that probably ties into what you talk about in busting your own beliefs. Mm-hmm. Is that we have this preconceived, or we have this idea that, you know, because we have this knowledge and we've known it for a long time, and for us it's just second nature. We forget that we actually know a lot. And mm-hmm. what we choose to look at is that I don't know enough about, you know, XYZ, forgetting that there's this big nugget of gold in their own knowledge to use.
Yes, and I've been so thrilled to be a part of the spa speaking world.
At the Esthétique Spa International. That's
yes.
For our US listeners, that is our big trade shows in Canada, Esthétique Spa International, and it's in Vancouver, Toronto, in Quebec, and in Calgary.
Yes, and it was so exciting to be a part of the aesthetic injury versus the surgical industry, the medical industry. But they estheticians were wanting to know more about how can I be a medical esthetician? And after I did my chat, there was a lineup of people outside the door asking me one-on-one questions, and the comments, the questions that I was getting asked the most was, how do I become more of an expert so that I can make money and have clients? And I would just turn and say to them, well, who are you in your own business? Who do you want to be? What do you want to be known for? And so in busting your beliefs is the second part of my private practice, is that evolved as well. I started, why do people keep coming to me? And helping women understand that it's their belief systems that get in the way. And most people know that, but how do we get over that challenge line? That's the hard part, Kirsten. And people say, well, it doesn't have to be hard, but from my personal experience, it is hard because you've got to do some deep, deep soul searching. And when you get that soul searching, it's amazing what comes of it, for sure.
But I like what you call that the challenge line, because it definitely is a line that it feels like a big line, and sometimes it feels like a big brick wall. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it just feels like a little tiny stick that you just, okay, you just have to make a decision. Okay, I'm going to walk across this line. But when it feels more like a wall than a line to cross, it takes a certain amount of bravery to cross it. Mm-hmm. and to look into what you're asking them to look into their belief systems.
Yes, and if I can just highlight 3 areas that I really want your listeners to consider to work on, to start looking at, is the purpose. The word purpose. What is your purpose? What is your passion? it's really that we want to get clear. We really want clarity around that. And so the question why, and I usually ask it 5 times when I'm chatting and with my client, is why do you do what you do? Well, I love doing facials. I love the products. I love cleaning up the skin. I love teaching. But why do you do that? Well, because the client usually comes to me and they haven't taken care of their skin, and it's a new opportunity to really show them. Or why else do you do that? Because the client just needs a day of relaxation, and I want to give to her. She's got a busy life, and I want, great, but why do you do that? Well, Julie, okay.
Okay, you're gonna make me say it. Right.
Yeah. And it'll be because there was a time in my life that I didn't feel very beautiful. There was a time in my life, now here I'm going to my story, Kirsten. There's
Please.
a time in my life that I didn't feel beautiful. And this is not the venue to talk about all the stuff that went on in my life, but it comes from violence and abuse. It comes from sexual abuse. Your soul was taken from you. So I didn't feel beautiful. I felt bad, but I didn't know that. So that's the unpeeling thing. And that's what made me do what I do, is I can make everybody else feel beautiful. I can make them have a day of feeling valued. See, that's what my business is about, is making a person feel that they matter in this world.
So interesting, Julie, that, you know, you've just kind of clarified how you got to your why. And you can't know your why until you uncover even that, right? Like what about you as a person, like from birth until this moment, makes you who you are? I love that you were able to identify and to communicate to us like how you were able to kind of piece that together along the line.
Yeah, and it gives me shivers right now because I'm thinking of a couple of clients recently that I was mentoring on busting your own beliefs. And one was she's not a realtor, she buys properties. And she's got vacation properties, and she's got loads and loads of properties. And I say, why do you have so many properties? Is it the money? And she goes, well, you know, I'd be lying if I wasn't saying it gives me a great income and I can fulfill my dreams. And I said, why do you have so many houses? Why are there so many around the world? And she said, I don't know. And I said, but why? Well, tell me about houses. And so quickening up the story here, the bottom line was, when she was growing up, the family home that she grew up in burnt down. So for her, her why was, I need lots of houses to fill families in them so that they feel safe and secure. Can you see how she didn't even know she was doing that?
Yeah. Yeah. And yet once that's uncovered,
yes,
holy cow, super powerful. Oh, just, it gives me shivers thinking about that.
Yes, and you're once that's uncovered, I'm glad you said that, because you're helping me move forward with my conversation here. It's terrific. Once you discover that, then that's when I would tell your listeners, be that person that you have discovered, and that has been your secret, right? So it may have also been shameful or uncomfortable, but now it's going to shift into your strength muscle. It's as like Lisa Nichols will say, is, you know, develop that muscle even more. That becomes your strength of who you are and why you do what you do in business, because you're going to go have your ups and downs in businesses. There's going to be bad weeks, bad days, good days, highs and lows. But if you remember why you do what you do, then you won't be distracted. You won't change your goals. Well, those will change, of course, as you evolve. But
it's not this kind of flighty kind of, oh, I'm going to try this, or I'm going to try that, I'm going to do this. Yeah.
I mentored another lady who had 2 degrees, and she was she, intimidated me with all her knowledge and big words, and she was not happy. So we did the why, and she was passionate about animals, but her family was all about education. So once she got permission, and she gave herself permission to do the work with animals, then she brought in her education. It doesn't mean the stuff that you've been doing you need to throw away.
It's not.
Part of who your journey is.
That's right. It's not. It doesn't mitigate anything else.
So knowing your why, and that may take somebody's help. You need probably, from my experience, working with somebody one-on-one that can get quickly to your why and help you stay high in the energy of developing your why. And once you do that, then the other part of the business is the prosperity. Now, Kirsten, I came from poverty. House was taken away, welfare, and then I married, and then I was doing my mother's story. I got onto welfare, and oh my goodness, it was like poverty, victim.
And that kind of repetitive cycle.
And so what I recognized that I had a money story, but I didn't know the deep that was stopping me from allowing wealth abundance come into my life. So I took courses, and I know probably a lot of your listeners take courses. And I'd take the courses, and then they would sit on my desk. Another binder, what is it called? Shelf help. I think Lisa Larder calls it shelf help.
Shelf help.
Yeah, and that's what I had, and my husband says, "Oh, here we go again.
There's another book. What do you read now?"
Yeah, here we go again. But you know what? Those books were all extremely helpful because I use them now. The fear of this money story, I needed help one-on-one with that. Because you know what I used to do with my monthly income? I had no idea in running my business. When I said earlier I knew nothing about business, I had no idea how much money was coming in or out. None. And
I think that is, in my experience, because I was the same way. My money story, I think we were probably, with my family growing up, I think we probably were pretty close to the poverty level, but on some, at certain times. But I always heard the words, "We can't afford it. We can't afford it. Don't ask. We can't afford it." And so I grew up, and became an adult, hearing in my head, "I can't afford it. I can't afford it," no matter how much money I had. And I would always be kind of in that fear mode of, is there going to be enough? Is there going to be enough? And it was really difficult as a spa owner, especially when I became a new spa owner. All of a sudden, when there was more risk because I had invested money into my business to open it, all of a sudden my money story, and especially when it wasn't busy, and when I expanded my business, had staff, and I had all these people that I needed to support and pay payroll. My money story kicked in big time. I don't even know how many times I would wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and just stress and worry and panic and feel sick. And then, it just perpetuated itself.
Yes. And picture this, when it came to having to do my books, I would put some crazy music on. I would open up my laptop and put a romantic movie on. I would have a bottle of wine. I would have 8 different distractions, because to focus on the money was absolutely internally nauseating, anxiety provoking. I am no good. Every single emotion and physical would happen every month, and it was exhausting. It was awful. But like I said, taking all the courses didn't really do it. What did it for me is working one-on-one with somebody who had gone from $145,000 in debt in her business. It took her 5 years, and because she had a money story. And I connected with her. And so you know what she did, Kirsten? She sat down with me and she said, she sat with me like a mother would sit with their child. And we would do one-on-one. I said, I can't look at it. I cannot look at it without these distractions. And that first time we looked at it, she said, Julie, you are making money. You just don't have any idea about the expenses. You are making money. And it was the expenses I was spending way too much, way too much. And then she showed me how to do an Excel sheet. And she said, what you need to do is start a new money story. And so that's what I want your listeners to do, is start a new money story. And I truly understand how scary this is. But your money now is your friend. And you treat your money, whether you have it or not, because it will come. That's the thing. I want things like this. But there has to be a process.
Yeah.
And so the money, I treated it like, how would I treat a friend? I would be honest and open and delicate and respectful. Yeah. Absolutely. And that means knowing my numbers, knowing and write down. And when I started to work on doing my numbers, and then I would check in once a week with my partner, and she would say, well, you started off knowing your numbers, and by the third week you got all scattered again. And so it's a process. And once I became, hey, I'm in control, this was my news story. Because the story that I was carrying with my business around the finances was not my story. That was the story I grew up with. So it was like learning a new language. That's all it was. When I started looking at it in those terms, how do you learn a new language? And if you need that person to work with you one-on-one, you get that. And it's not your bookkeeper, and it's not your accountant. No. It's somebody who sits with you that actually has a Kleenex box and actually holds your hand and tells you, breathe. Yeah. And knows how difficult this is for you.
One of the, it's interesting because I think we can have multiple money stories, or we definitely have multiple belief systems. Another one of my belief systems that got me into trouble in my business was when I was in elementary and high school, I felt really stupid about math. It didn't come easy to me. And there was, my mom and my dad can attest to this. There was countless evenings at the kitchen table doing my math homework in tears, and then beating myself up about it and telling myself, you're so dumb, you're so stupid, you don't understand this. And that internal dialogue stayed with me. And it was an absolute freaking miracle that I passed grade 12 math. I don't know how I did it. It was a miracle because I had been falling behind progressively every year. And I don't know how I passed it, but I passed it because I did not understand it. Because I had gotten in my own head and was telling myself that you're dumb. You're dumb, you're stupid, you're never going to get this. And so when it came to opening up my own business, when I did it on a small scale as a solo, it didn't show up that much because I had lots of money coming in, and I wasn't feeling super triggered. But as soon as I expanded my business, that belief system about being stupid at money, it allowed me to not look at my numbers. It made me just feel like, I don't get it anyways. I'm stupid. I'm dumb at this. You're never going to get it. And so I would just ignore it. And so I had absolutely no financial literacy. And it wasn't until I was in a big hot mess financially, and I was in a real jam. I could either lose my business, like close up shop and lose everything I put into it, or I needed to sell my business because I actually had a newborn at the time. Wow. So for me, I was pushed past that to the change line, like hard and fast. Like I was at the line, and there was a lot on the line for it. And so I was willing to cross over and learn about the numbers of my business, and finally was able to be respectful of my numbers and my money. And to, I just finally had the motivation to learn. But I needed to go literally to a spa business boot camp and It was through strategies and Neil Dukoff, and he just did not sugarcoat anything. And he basically gave me a serious kick in the ass. He gave all of us a kick in the ass about it. And it was like, okay, this is relevant now to my business. I think I get it. And it just took practice. So I came home and I spent the next 6 months nose to the grindstone, paying attention to my numbers. And as, like you said, you had to flex that muscle. You had to use that new muscle, and it was not comfortable at all at the beginning. But as I used that muscle and flexed that muscle, it became much, much easier. And within months, my business completely turned around.
And that's the mindset thing, Kirsten, that we, busting your own beliefs. And the word that kept coming to me while you were chatting was one of the reasons I see that you passed your math and that you got out of that situation is you had a deep desire. There was a desire to move forward. And when you have a desire to reach your goals, a desire to move forward, the question to ask yourself is not when, not what, but how.
How am I going to do this?
Yeah. How am I going to do this? Because when kind of keeps you in that victim space. When is life going to get better? What am I doing wrong?
So true, yeah.
And so when I was coached, the word how came up, and it gave me the tool to keep me in a high energy place of inviting positive things in my life every single day. Every single day. And so for the listeners, doing 5 things every day that is going to help move your business forward is what I recommend in becoming you. That's the third P is your power is one of my workshops is becoming you. It's about you've defined your purpose. You're working on the money story because you need to know your purpose and you need to know about money. You need to know that.
You can't, it's, if you want to move anywhere in your business, you will never, they cannot be separate entities. They have to come together and make friends.
I know, but the thing that I hear is, but I don't have any money to make a new web design. If you went to my website, it's so outdated. And part of it is because it's not exactly who I am in business. And that's the evolution of becoming me. Owning who I am changes some of the services, some of the packages, some of my message to the world. And that will happen, and it's happened to you as well, going from working in the spa behind the closed door to a larger community and educating. And that's what you found you're really, really able to help women on. And so it's an evolution in building our business too, but it takes the steps to get there. We're not just going to get there every single day. Whatever those 5 new things you're doing is helping you move forward to your dream. So that how is the word that I think your listeners might find valuable. How am I going to make that change? How much time do I need to do that? How am I going to change my priority list? Like all those things. And in becoming you, the way that it helped me was, I played the victim for so many years. That was ingrained in me, because my money story was the rich are greedy.
Yeah.
The rich got that money handed to them. They didn't have to work hard. And my story was, there's never enough. There's never enough because everything gets taken away. So you see how all I did was work, work, work. 40 hours of work, 50, 60, 70. There was no balance. There was no family time. There was no health time.
Well, it's almost like it became a self-fulfilling prophecy. There's never enough. And it's, there's never enough money. There's never enough time. There's never enough this. And then you just end up living that.
Yeah, and I mean, we've got a short amount of time here to get the message across, but each one of our topics today are so much more about unpeeling and getting deeper.
Mm-hmm.
And in becoming you, when you are clear on what you are expert at, and if you're expert at waxing, I'd like your listeners to think about what is it they love doing so much they'd give it away for free. What is it? And if it means that you love waxing, my daughter's an esthetician and she hates waxing. So that is, she loves makeup artistry. She will do it anytime for free. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That is the thing she loves to do. She's Googling it. She trends everything. And before the end of the day, oh my goodness, I just spent 3 hours on makeup. So what do your listeners do? And the time flies by and they're still high energy. That is what you're good at. That is what mine is faces. I'm an expert in faces, in how our aging process happens with the faces and things we can do for it. And I own it. So I don't need all the other bells and whistles that are out there. Let the other places have them. I'm an expert in my education. So that's the message I'm working on and continuing to put out there. So if they can find what they're expert at, maybe it's nails, that's all it is, then build a business around nails.
Well, and I think that's where our industry is going anyways.
Cool.
You know, 20 years ago, it was the birth of the spa industry. It was a big thing to, you know, your full service, hair, skin, nails, massage. And now in the past 8 years, that you've been seeing more boutique stuff coming up, more niched salons and spas. And I think as this naturally is starting to happen, it's forcing the salon and spa owners to figure out what they're really good at, like what their why is.
Yes. And in becoming you, I went to a 3-day workshop. It was excellent in Vancouver a couple of months ago with Colin. I hope I get his last name, Sprake. And it was all about your why. And what I came away with, and some people may resonate with this for sure, is the more I shared about the beauty industry, the more I offered my expertise, the more I got known for my success. The more successful I got, that's what I want to share. The more successful I got, the more I needed to go volunteer in violence and abuse. Here was my success, and then I needed to run back and save, I'm going to just say save the poor. I was reaping the rewards of richness and wealth abundance, but I needed to save the poor. And I wasn't moving forward in my business because I kept having to go back to there. So I had to give myself permission that all the things I desire in my life, beauty, wonderful holidays, time off, luxury, volunteering, that sort of things, I desire and I deserve. This helping the poor is what I do in my volunteer hours. But it's not who I am. That was my other story. That's not what I was brought in this world to be. That was my mother's story. So owning who you really want to be and so becoming you, when you decide who you are in your business, show it to the world. Now, it might be difficult for you to stay up at that higher level. So look out there who you would like to mentor from. And we've got the great resources of the internet now, and you can get free videos and people that really you want to take a piece of them and put it into you. Those are that's what you want to be doing as you're up leveling. Yeah. That was my word for this year, up level. So up level who I am, up level who my business is, up level my relationships. Now, how do I do that? So listeners, take a word and commit to that word this year, and moving forward in that higher elevation that you really want to become.
Yeah, it's basically just picking a focus. That word is a focus. Yeah. For me, for 2015, my word that I chose was community.
Okay.
As I moved into coaching and consulting, I didn't want to be kind of just sitting perched somewhere dispensing, information. It was really important to me that I feel connected with, salon and spa owners, because that's that's what's fulfilling to me. It's not fulfilling to me just to give you my advice.
Yeah.
What's fulfilling is that I'm connecting with you and sharing with you, and you're sharing with me. And it's really interesting that, since I've picked that focus of community, it's just like literally exploded for me since the beginning of the year.
When you said that word, and I'm allowing you to share, in my mind, I was going, that is so right. Watching you this last year, community, what you couldn't have chosen a better word, because that's exactly what's happening to you, is that you are being more worldly. You're more committed to getting out more educational information, like so much, absolutely.
Yeah.
And
so that's probably, for me, it's one of the easiest action steps I can take when I'm choosing to, when I feel like I'm ready, or I want to up level myself, is just it takes me, a little while to figure out what that word is, because I know that when I'm focusing on it for the year, it needs to be right. And I always pick my word on New Year's Eve.
Yes.
Usually at the beginning of December, I start thinking about, okay, what's my word going to be for this year? So it's not a quick thing, like I'm going to pick this thing, unless you've been really thinking about it for a long time. But it's one of those, to kind of, as far as what we're talking about today, and busting your beliefs. And if you're wanting to up level your own personal growth and development within your business, choosing a really heartfelt word to focus on is one of the fastest ways to make that happen.
I didn't know that you chose a word every year. And that's what I did. And when I went to see Oprah in Vancouver a couple of years ago, no, it wasn't on the Oprah show, that particular setting. It was on one of her shows. She was saying that every year she chooses a word. And she said this one year she chose the word courage. And she said, oh my goodness, that full year, she was thrown so many situations that made her have to strengthen that courage muscle. Mm-hmm. And so same with, say, your community word and up level, that challenge line of our word puts us in a sometimes vulnerable situations where we have to bring in all the tools that we have used to identify who we are and stay in alignment and keep with our desires, because as we up level or get more known in our community, it can be scary. Wouldn't you agree?
Well, I think for me, like, just for the example of this year, picking the word community, I've got this lovely community around me, and it's rapidly growing. But there's always the flip side of the word. There's the positive, and then there's the negative part of the word. So for me, the more, it's not really negative, but the other side of building community started triggering a little bit of worry, like, of people judging me.
Yes.
That's
what I meant by that challenge.
Yes. It's just like, okay, I want to be out in the community, but now that I'm out there, I'm really out there. People can see me and they can hear me and they can judge me. And what if they don't like what I say? And what if they really hate what I say? And what if they, post some nasty comment about me on social media? All of which I can handle and cope with. But it's just that, that internal dialogue. But it was interesting that as my community grew, so did a little bit of the other side of that, of how do I handle my community? How do I handle being in community? Where is my comfort level?
And have you found that you have reached out to other people to, work with, to help you, talk it through and things like that? Like so many of in the beauty industry, we tend to work on our own. And we are entrepreneurs that can do it ourselves. And coming from my background, I trusted nobody, absolutely nobody. I can do this myself. And once I started to up level my thoughts, I learned to trust more and ask for the support and guidance and wisdom And that was a huge challenge line I had to get over, is that. And I run mastermind groups for 6 months, and watching the ladies, each one of them come with their own identity, and these are professional ladies, and over the course of getting to know each other, build that trust, and then feed off each other. And interesting enough, everybody in the room was meant to be in that room, because they all connect to some degree. So reaching out is so very important. There's so many people out there to help us. And talking about mindset, is our time running short?
We're okay. Keep going.
Okay. Yeah. Talking about mindset, I once saw Deepak Chopra. I'm actually going to see him. He's coming to Victoria next month. I'm really excited.
For it too.
Yeah, and he was chatting with, I think it was Oprah, and he asked everybody to close their eyes for a moment. They had a live audience there, and he said, imagine a cat. So if your listeners could just close their eyes for a minute and imagine a cat licking their body, cleaning their body, or the fur, the softness. Really visualize the cat. Really, so where is it sitting? Is the sun coming through the window on the cat? Have a picture of this cat. And now I want you to think about a rainbow. All the colors in the rainbow up there in the beautiful sky. The rain's just finished, and the bright sky, and you can see that rainbow and how brilliant the colors are. And now I want you to think about being in the grocery store, a crowded grocery store with a basket full of groceries, and you've got a certain amount of time to get your groceries, and you're up and down those aisles and in and out, and focused on filling that basket, getting the food for the week. And you can open your eyes now. And that was very quick, but what I want you to take away is your mind, how you shifted from thinking about a cat, moving into thinking, what was the second thing I said? A rainbow, and then the grocery store. That was all your mind doing that. So this was very helpful for me, when those negative thoughts come into our head, all the what ifs, we can let go of those. We can totally let go of those and create new thoughts, just like we did with the visual pictures in our mind, and how quickly we could switch those. We can do that. We can do that with our thoughts too. So that visual really helped me a lot, for sure. Remind me that I am in control of what I think.
And I think kind of, tying that back, kind of looping back to how, the beginning of our conversation is that, our belief systems, what we think about ourselves, what we think we can and can't do, are just thoughts. And we can change them. That doesn't mean it's going to be easy. It's going to take some work. It's going to take some bravery. It's going to take some... a certain amount of gumption and desire, but they're just thoughts.
Just sidetracking out of the beauty conversation, my story around men was that they hurt you and they abuse you and they leave you. That was my thought process in my head. It wasn't a daily thought. It was a part of my cellular human being. That's because of my life experience. And some of your people may have the same story. And because that story was there, my father was not a nice man to me. My boyfriends that I had in my life some of them had other girlfriends at the same time as me. They always left me somehow. One was through a divorce, and my second husband died on me. So do you see how they were all that deep story that I wasn't? That's what I talked about earlier about the whys. We really don't know what's feeding us to have all this negative stuff, but that's what was feeding my relationship with men. And then in 2005, when I lost everything, all those people, my question to me was, well, who was Julie? And well, how did I want to spend the next, 50 years of my life? And I wanted to be in relationship, but I was tired of and the only one that was going to fix it was me. So what I did was I started observing other women with wonderful husbands. I started looking, it was like a new language, like I talked about earlier. I started looking at men differently. Well, there are nice men out there. There are people that have been together for 20, 30, 40 years. They didn't leave.
So you were looking for proof that...
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Gotcha.
So it was like taking a course on who are men? What are men? Changing my thoughts. So I had to look at myself and go, well, I am a kind, caring, loving, trusting person. And that's what I want in my life. So that came to me and it was wonderful. But when things come to us, as we change our mindset, what happens is we sabotage because we're not quite trusting of this new environment, right? And so this new wonderful person came into my life. And at one point he said, you asked for kindness, caring, loving, trusting, committed, but you're not ready to receive. And that one statement, Kirsten, I use it. I asked for wealth and abundance, but am I ready to receive? That's what I added to my list of talking to myself, up-leveling myself. I want wealth abundance. I want health abundance. I'm doing the work, but am I really ready to receive it? Or am I still trying to sabotage?
Really interesting. A really interesting phrase. I think everybody should write that down.
Yeah.
Fill in the blanks. I really want blank. I really want a full schedule. I really want savings in my business account. I really want, more revenues. But am I really, what was it that you said? Am I really ready
to receive?
To receive.
Yeah. Yeah. It's right there. And that's the thing. As we change our mindset, bust our beliefs, that wealth abundance is actually right there in front of you. It's right there. Now, I know that's hard to think about and perceive, but it is.
So that's one little kind of something, a little action that people can do. Do you have any other, if this is really new information for people, or even if like you said, I think everybody knows that they have belief systems about things. So are there a couple of things that you can suggest that they practice or do in order to just start the shift to happen?
Yeah. Well, I heard Cher the other day. I couldn't sleep, so I was YouTubing, and there was a documentary on Cher. You remember Cher?
Oh, yeah.
And she was saying, people talk about her all the time negatively, but she believed that the only person she had to answer to was herself. And of course, for her, it was her God. So that is something that I found very valuable is, who are you trying to answer to when you are changing who you are and inviting happiness, joy and happiness? There's something for your readers or listeners as readers is, I decided, so there's a word I'd like them to write down is decide, because we've used that a lot today. Decide what it is you want in your life. I let go of pain and suffering. And what's the opposite? Joy and happiness. Well, I decided joy and happiness. So if I'm having a crappy day, my question to me, the question you might ask yourself is, how, there's that word how is this situation bringing me joy and happiness? So if it's not bringing it, delete. Bye. Bye.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Energy drain. Get rid of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I suggest the same thing when I'm talking more analytically and strategically when I'm doing my business coaching, is if you don't love it, if it doesn't charge you up, if it's depleting you, farm it out or get rid of it. If it's a service you hate doing, And every time you look at it on your schedule and you're like, ugh, get rid of it. Don't do it. You don't need to.
Exactly.
And then all of a sudden you have more energy to put into the things that you are good at, that you like doing or want to know more about.
Right. Like, have you ever had clients that you look at your day sheet or your week and go, oh God, Mrs. Smith is coming. She drains me so much. Then maybe you do a house cleaning, and that Mrs. Smith personality type, as you are up leveling, as you are becoming more of you, that's not the personality you want coming through your red carpet door anymore.
True.
That's not it.
True.
That drains you.
Yeah.
So housekeeping, remove the drains, the energy drains, and keep your thermometer up on it. You know, when you wake up in the morning, consider this, that you have a thermometer from 0 to 100, and that thermometer is full to the brim at first thing in the morning of high energy. And as the day goes on, if it starts depleting because of things, then how can you do good work?
Exactly. Yeah. Your tank gets empty and there's nothing left.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So have a look at your tank for sure.
So we covered in busting your own beliefs. You brought up there's 3 points that we kind of covered over this last period of time.
Great.
You talked about purpose, knowing your why.
Yeah.
You talked about prosperity, determining kind of who the main character of your money story is.
Yes.
And what it's going to look like afterwards.
Yes.
And the third thing that you talked about was power.
Yes.
You believing in you, becoming
you.
your own expert. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So thank you so much, Julie. You know, I think we could probably just talk for hours and hours. In fact, we've gone for tea and talked for hours and hours and hours. And you can find Julie at newlooknewlife.com. And I think you said you have a new website that's under construction.
Yes.
So that was your old one. The one that's up is the one that's.
Yes. But it does tell a little bit about me in the
Absolutely.
about. Yeah.
And she lives in Victoria, BC, where I live as well. And Julie will be joining us for something really special this fall. I haven't launched it, I haven't released it, but it will be coming out in the next couple of weeks. I've put together a new course called Cash Strap to Cash Flow. And this is a 5-week course teaching salon and spa owners how to manage their money. And I asked Julie if she would be interested, because I think she's just a plethora of information around belief systems, to lead one of our classes about your belief systems around money and abundance and how it's affecting the cash flow in your spa and salon. So she will be with us for that course, but I really wanted to bring Julie on today and, you know, for you to at least get to know her, because she is just such a loving, caring woman, and she really does have a passion for the beauty industry. She's a speaker at ESI in Canada at our big trade shows, and she specializes at those shows talking to estheticians about how to become medical estheticians. And that's where she was talking about, you know, wanting to know why you want to be successful in this career. So she's blending her absolute expertise on belief systems, and we're going to really drill down into belief systems around money and abundance. So thank you, Julie, for joining me, and I hope we can get together for tea soon again. We'll definitely see you at the next eWomen Network meeting. Yes,
can I just finish with just from what you said and what we've talked about is I had such a story around money that it was so shameful and it was so secretive and it was so deep and dark that isn't it interesting, all that we've talked about today, that because I've up-leveled and changed my beliefs, I'm being asked to talk about money. I mean, that's the way it goes.
Was mind blown.
I wish you much success. It's been wonderful. I've really enjoyed this, and have a wonderful day.
Okay, thank you so much, Julie.
Okay.